Okay, so how many of you are like already thinking about the holidays? Humming Christmas tunes. I know I am. But before we get too lost in all the holiday um, craziness, I thought we'd take a little fun theory detour, explore something kind of unexpected, the origins of Santa Claus.
Yeah. We're not just talking about the jolly old elf in the red suit, right? We're going way back. Digging into the historical, the mythological, even the psychological roots of this global icon, Santa.
Because Santa, let's face it, he's everywhere this time of year.
Right.
But like, how many of us have actually like stopped to think about where all these stories, these traditions come from? I mean, we all kind of know the basics, right?
Yeah.
What about the really interesting stuff?
Right, and that's where things get interesting, even starting with good old St. Nicholas, the historical figure behind the myth.
Oh, totally. Like most of us know that kind of saintly version, right? 4th century bishop, generous gift giver, protector of children. But you're saying there's like a darker, more mysterious side to this guy.
Well, let's just say those old legends get pretty wild. Did you know, for example, that St. Nicholas was said to have resurrected 3 murdered boys from a pickling barrel? I mean, talk about a holiday
Oh,
miracle,
a
right?
big bang barrel. Seriously, that's intense. It's like something straight out of like a Grimm's fairy tale or something.
Right. And it really makes you think, like, how much of his legend was based on actual events versus, embellished over time, blending with existing folk tales, myths. It's a classic case of history getting a little fuzzy.
And that fuzziness is what makes it so fun, right?
Yeah.
Like piecing together a puzzle with missing pieces and a whole lot of imagination.
Absolutely. And speaking of fuzzy edges, we can't forget about Sinterklaas, the Dutch version of Saint Nick. And things get even more interesting and maybe a little creepy when
Yeah.
we look at his story.
Oh, yeah. Santa Claus with his posse of punishers. That's definitely not your Hallmark movie, Santa.
Right. I mean, here we have this figure, right, associated with joy, with generosity, but he's also got these terrifying companions, like Krampus, a half-goat, half-demon creature who punishes bad children. And then there's Warte Piet, who, often depicted in blackface, who helps Sinterklaas dole out rewards and punishments.
Wow. Talk about mixed messages. It's like this strange mix of holiday cheer and medieval morality tales. It definitely makes you think about how cultural values, have shifted over time.
For sure. What was once considered, just a normal part of holiday tradition now seems, well, pretty problematic to say the least. But it's a good reminder that even our most beloved traditions have evolved from some pretty complex and sometimes uncomfortable historical and cultural roots.
Okay, so we've got a resurrected saint and a gift giver with a dark side. What other skeletons are hiding in Santa's closet?
Well, some theories go even further back, suggesting connections to pre-Christian traditions like Norse and Germanic mythology.
Wait, so Santa Claus might be like a distant relative of Thor and Odin. Now, that's a fun theory I can get behind.
Right. And the evidence is actually pretty compelling. Think about Odin, the Norse god, often depicted riding a magical 8-legged horse named Sleipnir through the sky during Yule, the winter solstice celebration, delivering gifts and punishing the wicked, even leaving rewards and boots left out for Sleipnir, who, by the way, could leap vast distances, just like, a suit and reindeer we know.
Whoa, hold on. So, chimney descents, flying steeds, wintertime gift giving. Are we saying Santa's basically like a rebranded Odin? My mind is officially blown.
And it doesn't stop there. Thor, another Norse god, was sometimes depicted with a goat pulling his chariot. Another possible origin for Santa's reindeer. It's like pieces of the Santa myth are scattered throughout these ancient stories, just waiting to be discovered.
This is making me want to reread all those Norse myths with a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about the whole Santa's a shaman thing? I've heard that theory, but it always seemed a little far-fetched to me.
Yeah, the shamanic Santa theory, it's definitely gained a lot of traction over the years. The basic idea is that Siberian shamans who used hallucinogenic mushrooms as part of their rituals were the inspiration for Santa. The theory focuses on like visual and symbolic parallels. They point to the reindeer, the red and white colors, maybe inspired by the Amanita muscaria mushroom, right? And the whole gift-giving aspect. It's kind of fun to think about, right? Santa as a psychedelic mushroom-tripping shaman soaring through the sky, delivering presents.
Okay, I gotta admit, that is a pretty wild image. But how much of it actually, holds up historically?
Yeah, that's where things get tricky. While the imagery is definitely intriguing, there's not a whole lot of solid evidence, like historical evidence, to support a direct link between Santa and Siberian shamanism. Shamans didn't, typically fly around in sleighs or even interact with reindeer spirits that often. Plus, the whole reindeer connection to Santa is actually pretty recent.
So it's more like a fun theory than historical fact then.
Exactly. It's a great example of how our, imaginations can just run wild with these cultural myths. But it's also a good reminder to be, critical of the information we come across, even when it sounds exciting or it fits into a neat little narrative.
Right. Not everything you read on the internet is true, no matter how many cool pictures of flying reindeer they show.
Exactly. But even though that direct link might be, kind of shaky, the theory does highlight some really interesting themes, right? It speaks to our fascination with altered states of consciousness, with magical journeys, and this idea of a figure who kind of bridges the earthly and the spiritual realms, themes that, resonate with the Santa Claus myth in many ways.
Okay, so maybe not the literal shaman, but
Uh-huh.
definitely tapping into some ancient mystical vibes.
Right. Now let's shift gears for a minute and talk about something a little more visual. Santa's appearance. I mean, he hasn't always been this jolly old elf we know and love today, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely not. It's like Santa's gone through a whole wardrobe makeover over the centuries.
Exactly. From the austere robes of a bishop to the fur trimmed suit, we see today. Each era has put its own unique spin on the Santa image.
So who's responsible for Santa's signature look? Did he have like a personal stylist back in the day?
Well, we can thank a few key players for shaping Santa's image. One is Thomas Nast, a 19th century illustrator whose drawings popularized the red and white suit and the image of Santa's workshop at the North Pole. He drew a lot of inspiration from European folklore, figures like the Belsnickel, a gift bringer who also wore furs.
Oh, so the red and white wasn't always a thing. I always just thought that was like some ancient tradition or something.
Nope, relatively recent. And then it was further solidified by those iconic Coca-Cola ads in the 1930s, created by Haddon Sundblom. Those ads really cemented the image of the tall, friendly, undeniably jolly Santa we all, recognize today.
So Santa's look is basically the result of like a talented artist and a savvy marketing campaign. Talk about the power of branding.
It's incredible, right? It just shows how much, popular culture and visual imagery can influence how we perceive these mythical figures. We think of Santa as this timeless icon, but his appearance has been surprisingly fluid, adapting to the trends of each era.
It makes you wonder what Santa will look like
Like,
100 years from now, right?
yeah.
Will he be rocking some holographic suit, delivering presents via drone?
Now that's a fun theory for another episode. But for now, let's trace Santa's journey from the old world to the new. How did this European saint become like an American icon? It's a story full of surprises and unexpected turns.
Okay, I'm ready for the next chapter in the Santa saga. Bring on the American adventure.
So picture this. Dutch settlers, right? They arrive in New Amsterdam, bringing their Sinterklaas traditions with them. But it's not like America just like instantly embraced this gift-giving figure. It took a while for Santa to really catch on with the wider public.
So how did Santa go from a niche Dutch tradition to a full-blown American like obsession? What was the turning point?
Well, it was a combination of factors, but a few key players really helped pave the way. One is Washington Irving, the author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah, that spooky story about the headless horseman. I remember reading that in school.
Well, Irving also wrote this satirical history of New York. And in it, he portrays St. Nicholas as this mischievous, pipe-smoking Dutchman who flies over rooftops in a wagon. It was meant to be humorous, but it really helped reintroduce this magical gift giver to a wider audience.
So like a fictional story helped launch Santa's career. Talk about the power of creative storytelling.
And then and then we have Clement Clarke Moore, who wrote the poem we now know as "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," right? This poem, I mean, it gave us so many of our modern Santa traditions: the reindeer by name, the sleigh, Santa coming down the chimney.
The poem is like a Christmas classic. I bet everyone listening can like recite at least a few lines from memory.
Right, and what's amazing is that Moore wasn't even trying to create a definitive Santa Claus. He was just writing a fun poem for his kids, but it captured the imagination of the nation and basically solidified Santa's place in American culture.
It's wild how these seemingly small things like a satirical story, a children's poem, can have such a massive ripple effect. It's like they planted the seeds and then Santa just just blossom from there.
Exactly. It shows how ideas can just take on a life of their own and evolve in ways that no one could have predicted. But the story doesn't end there. Once Santa kind of conquered America, he set his sights on global domination.
Okay, from New Amsterdam to the world. How did Santa manage to pull that off?
Well, think about it. America was already a melting pot of cultures, right?
Yeah.
And this new Americanized Santa with influences from Dutch, from German, even Norse traditions, he was already pretty diverse. And then through, immigration, trade, the spread of American pop culture, Santa Claus kind of hitched a ride across the globe.
It's like Santa was an early adopter of globalization,
Hmm.
spreading holiday cheer before it was even like a thing.
Yeah, exactly. And of course there were, adaptations along the way. Santa might wear a slightly different outfit in some countries. His name might be pronounced a little differently. But the core elements, the jolly gift giver, the reindeer, the Christmas Eve magic, those tend to transcend cultural boundaries.
It's Santa speaks this universal language, right? And a language of joy, generosity, and childlike wonder. It's really amazing when you think about it. This one figure, cobbled together from bits and pieces of history and folklore, and he's become like this global symbol of holiday cheer.
Yeah, it really is. It speaks to our shared desire for connection, for celebration. Maybe even a little bit of magic, no matter where we come from.
Okay, but let's get real for a second. Santa's not, just about spreading joy and goodwill. I mean, he's also like a master of gift giving, right? I mean, that sleigh is packed with presents. So let's talk about, the psychology behind gift giving. What is it about giving and receiving gifts that's so deeply ingrained in the human experience?
That's a great question, because you're right. Gift giving it's everywhere. Birthdays, holidays, graduations. We even give gifts just to say, thank you, or I'm thinking of you, but why? What's the motivation behind it?
It's almost like it's hardwired into us. Like even little kids, instinctively want to give gifts, even if it's just like a drawing they made or a shiny rock they found or something.
And you're not wrong. From an evolutionary standpoint, gift giving likely served a very practical purpose. Strengthening social bonds, ensuring survival, sharing food, tools, or resources with others would have been crucial for building alliances, for fostering cooperation within a community.
So back in the day, gift giving was less about, sentimentality and more about survival. Like, hey, here's a spear. Hope you don't mind helping me hunt mammoths later.
Pretty much. And those primal instincts are still with us today. Even if, we're not consciously thinking about survival. When we give a gift, we're essentially saying, I value our relationship and I'm willing to invest in it.
But it's more than just a transaction, though, right? I mean, there's an emotional component to gift giving that goes beyond just practicality.
Oh, absolutely. Gifts can convey so many emotions: love, appreciation, gratitude, sympathy. They can be a way to celebrate milestones, to offer comfort during difficult times, or just to make someone's day.
And I think a lot of it comes down to thoughtfulness, right? Like a truly meaningful gift isn't necessarily about how much money you spend. It's about showing the person that you really know them and you care about what brings them joy.
You nailed it. It's about demonstrating that you understand the recipient's interests, their values, their desires. A personalized gift, something that reflects their unique personality or passions, can be far more impactful than something generic and impersonal.
It's like you're saying, I see you, I get you, and I care enough to put in the effort, which is a pretty powerful message to send, especially in today's busy world where it's so easy to feel like you're just going through the motions.
Exactly, and that's what creates those warm, fuzzy feelings, both for the giver and the receiver. Gift giving, when done right, it strengthens those social bonds and creates these positive emotional connections. It's a win-win.
But let's be honest, gift giving can also be a bit of a minefield,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes it feels obligatory, like you have to buy something, even if you can't afford it, or The person doesn't really need anything. And then there's the whole, consumerism aspect of it.
Yeah.
Especially around the holidays. It feels like we're constantly bombarded with messages about buying, buying, buying.
You're right. It's easy to get, caught up in that pressure to spend, to consume. But I think it's important to remember that original spirit of gift giving, that sense of genuine generosity and connection. We don't have to, buy into the hype or break the bank to show someone that we care.
So how do we escape that gift giving, you know, pressure cooker and get back to the heart of what it's all about?
Well, maybe it's time to reclaim the joy of giving by focusing on those more, meaningful, personalized gifts, or even consider alternative forms of gift giving.
Like what? Give me some ideas.
Think experiences.
Yeah.
A concert, a cooking class, a weekend getaway, or how about acts of service? Volunteer your time. Help someone with a project, or just offer to babysit so they can have a night off. Those gestures can be far more valuable than any material possession.
Those are great ideas. It's like shifting the focus from things to time and connection.
Exactly. And in a way, that's what Santa Claus is all about, isn't it? It's not really about the presents under the tree. It's about the spirit of generosity, the magic of childhood, and the feeling of connection and joy that we share with the people we love.
Wow. I feel like we come like full circle here. We started by, unpacking the origins of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about the deeper meaning of gift giving.
Yeah.
And the importance of human connection.
And that's the beauty of fun theory, right? We start with a seemingly simple question, and we end up, exploring all these fascinating ideas about history, about culture, about psychology.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. Only instead of tears, we get like mind-blowing insights and a whole lot of laughter along the way.
Exactly. And hopefully we all walk away with a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more wonder, and a renewed appreciation for the simple yet profound things, in life.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this fun theory adventure. Happy holidays, everyone, and may your season be filled with joy, with laughter, and those warm, fuzzy feelings that come from connecting with the people who matter most.
Happy holidays. And remember, the spirit of Santa Claus lives on in all of us. Not in a red suit and a white beard, but in our capacity for kindness, for generosity, and the joy of giving.
Yeah.